Good morning, everybody. What is up? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team, our team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 300,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers since 2020, which is a great blessing. Also, I am a content producer for the Indie Soup TV media network. You can find it there if you're watching live or on the replay, indiesoupmedia.tv. That is a independent content creators network based out of the United States, run by our good friend Dr. Tachi out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And that network comprises of over 27 independent content creators. And the shows are on Monday to Friday, basically right now from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So go check me out there. This show and a few other shows that I host and produce are on that platform. And I'm also a member of the advisory board. So as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I want to say hello to everybody. So please put in the comment section, especially if you're watching live, where you're chiming in from and how are things with you. While you're doing that, also want to say subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I host and produce, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And then finally, join the Morning Vibe Discord group where we continue the conversation. So that's our own little private chat room with the family, all of you here. So please feel free to jump in and do the thing there. Let's see who's jumped in first. Fitness IQ Cam. Morning, Fitness IQ Cam. Hope you are doing fine and safe. You're keeping your popularity high as ever. You're very challenging to get a hold of, but hey, we find a way. Also, just want to put it out there, first things first, just as a topic before we go to break, and then we have a new friend of the Dr. Vibe Show family on. Let me just see. What do people think of this? 45 is found guilty. So the former president of the United States has been found guilty on like 34 counts in the state of New York. Of course, after that trial was after the sentence was put down, the trial, of course, in 45 style, trial was rigged. This, that, other thing, and he was just saying a joke, this and that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the American people who decide. So let me ask people out there, if you're watching live or on the replay, if he's convicted, which is, I don't know if they're going to appeal or not, would you vote? Whether you're in America or not in America, would you vote for, I guess it's two parts. Well, let's say a convicted person to be to run your country. And that's a two-layer question because it's 45. He's a individual in itself, but would you vote for someone who's a convicted felon to run your country? Hey, Fitness IQ goes Bacchanal. JJ Mars from Colorado. Hey, what's going on? Hope things are all going good in Colorado. You know, we need our weather report. And also, JJ Mars, you live in the United States. What do you think about what happened to the former president yesterday? Found guilty on 34 counts. Would love to hear your feedback. Love to hear your take since you live in the United States of America. Would like to know what you got to say about that. Because at the end of the day, it's actually going to be the voters that decide. And of course, I'm, reading some stories here. Many of 45 supporters are want to cause riots, protests. This is a little bit of my lens on this. Believe it or not, the United States is in civil war phase. Really and truly. It hasn't got fully to arms yet, but the thing is, the country, from my lens, the country is very divided. Very divided. So there's almost a war going on there right now. For those who are watching outside the United States, there is a war, and I think a number of Americans, I say, hey, you know, is there a war going on in your country? Some would say yes, some would say no. Would love to get your takes. Know what do you feel about what's going on in the United States, plus the verdict on 45. So no one's commenting yet? Come on. Everyone's got an opinion about 45, good, bad, or ugly. But some more people jumping in. Good day, everybody. Hope all one's good. Taking my sip of water here. No one's commenting on 45 being arrested. Wow, you're a quiet bunch this morning. If that doesn't get you going, I don't know. Well, the friend we have coming up, he'll certainly get things cooking, but I'll take even one comment. I will wait for one comment just to catch up to some of the things that went on this week in my world. On Wednesday night, I had mentioned this on Monday. I was actually the first presenter at Centennial College's Donny Awards, and Centennial College is a very well-renowned college, post-secondary institution in Canada that produces great film directors, content creators, etc., etc. And I've been blessed to have a relationship with Centennial College for the last number of years. They've asked me if I could, at different times, take on some students to help me out, and I'm always willing to do that. And I went down to the event. People who know me, I'm not a fan of driving downtown Toronto. It was an expedition because this event was in downtown Toronto at 7 p.m. on a weeknight. So that was an interesting journey. Got down to the event, got greeted there, and they say, oh, no, you got to sit up right up the front. I go, why? I says, oh, you're the first presenter. I said, oh, okay. And get up on the stage there and say, hey, what do you want me to talk about? And they say, oh, you know what? I'll just talk about how I met the coordinator, Karen Shopsowitz, I believe. Yes, that is her last name. And just how we met, etc. Then did the presentation. Gentleman came out, had a lot of energy. I asked him a few questions. Off the stage. So that went down. And yesterday, what went on? I actually had 2 sessions this week with Black entrepreneurs, and they were very enlightening, good stuff. And also something that was people have asked me to do lately is to do mock interviews for them. There's a number of people who are applying for jobs, and I say, hey, would you like me to do a mock interview just to get you comfortable? And so I did one with someone yesterday. They said they enjoyed it. So there you go. JG Marr says, rainy and a lot of hail in Colorado. Everyone knew 45 was guilty, but politics are very toxic here. He'll probably encourage another riot. Well, I'm sure he will. As I said just a few moments ago, I've been reading a little bit of news. I don't read too much news, but it seems a lot of his supporters are calling for riots, etc. Could you imagine if 45 doesn't win another election? Now, remember, that was the whole January 6th incident that, hey, I hope people haven't forgot what happened. Could you imagine if 45 loses the next election, he doesn't get in? His supporters will go cray-cray. So the thing is, in my lens, America's already in civil war, but then it may go to the next level. Hey, this verdict may take it to the next level. And also, if 45 loses that next election, that could take it to the next level. That is good. Anybody else? What's going on this week? Actually, and also, what do you have planned for your weekend? Here in the Greater Toronto area, we have yesterday, the last few days have been amazing weather, warm, but not too hot. So it's been great weather, and they're calling for pretty good weather for the weekend. So looking forward to that also. Everyone's quiet. You must be waiting for our new friend to come on. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to break, and we're going to be back in a few moments. We have a gentleman I met about a month ago. He'll have to refresh my memory. We met at an event, and I said, why don't you come on the show? And he said yes. So you know what happens? See what happens when you ask? You find out what's going on. So in 2 minutes' time, you're going to meet a new friend, and we're going to share about a very important subject, Black youth and mental health. So keep it locked. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room,
overly
and
sexualized Black
over
folks.
like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe.
They
Dr.
really
Vibe
should.
he's trying to do good work for Black people. Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe. If you see him in the chat, and Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I gotta say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
As always, thank you to Dr. Boyce and Alicia Watkins for their support. So we're back on the Morning Vibe. We're broadcasting live on the last day of May 2024. I will say again, where did the time go? It just flew by. It just like bam, bam, bam. All right. Some other people saying hello. Good morning, Frequency Event Promotions. Hope all is fine and safe with you. Opal Inspired. Good morning. Good morning, Opal Inspired. I saw her this week. She got her gift certificate from Buy Black's Restaurant Week. So I don't know, Opal Inspired, have you got your food yet? And then Elemental Notes. Great in regards to herbal remedies. One of the first stops for herbal remedies. Go check out Elemental Notes. Hope you and your daughter are doing fine. Yes, Fitness IQ. Yes, last day of the month. It is the last day of the month. So tomorrow is June. So that means summer's in full flight, not calendar-wise, but it's in full flight. And Fitness IQ says, yeah, golly, yes, the time is flying. All right. We have a new friend here today. It's about a month ago. I was at an event on a Saturday for, this is the Black Physicians Association of Ontario, BPAO. There we go. All right. Yes, I was at that event. And Opal Inspire says, still waiting in anticipation. Okay. Well, you got to tell us when you get it, please and thank you, because we want to know how that food is. But getting that BPAO, we had a great event on a Saturday that I had a chance to attend. And I don't know if I told people about it. I only planned to go for about an hour. Stop. That was it. And then had it start to have great conversations with two young people that were there who were at a booth. So you know what I did? I rescheduled my appointment for later that day to just hang out because it was such a good vibe. So, and then I had a chance to meet a number of wonderful people there. And one of the people I had a chance to have a great conversation with is a gentleman named Jermaine Henry. So Jermaine Henry is with us this morning talking about Black youth and mental health. So good morning, Mr. Henry. Please unmute yourself because we won't be able to hear you until you do that. There we go. Good morning, Mr. Henry. How you doing?
Good morning. Blessed and feeling highly favored. How you doing?
I am blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem, and fired up and jacked that you're here with us this morning.
Oh, that's hype. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So I'm really happy, first of all, that you're here. Second of all, to provide a very evaluated experience lens on a very critical subject in the Black environment, Black youth and mental health. But first, just a little bit of background about yourself to the Morning Vibe show family. Share a little about yourself.
Welcome, Morning Vibe show family. Jermaine Henry, he, him. I'm a creative. I'm an author, facilitator, and I've been working with community development, youth engagement, mental health, arts and culture for close to 2 decades now.
What?
Yeah, and it's funny. What I'll say is, and even at work, I've had to kind of share my age, and it's interesting. Normally, people don't necessarily share their age, but for myself, I had a doctor, actually, a psychiatrist, come to me and like, Jermaine, I thought you were 22.
Lord!
And I was like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. I'm 34. I've been doing this for a while, right? So, you know, so over time, like in 2017, I was on the front page of the Toronto Metro, break the barriers, right? Break that barrier. And it was around my Braver Space series, whatnot. And yeah, and now I'm working with Cam H with the Black Health Strategy and Youth Engagement Coordinator. But for me, myself, I'm pushing this movement, hip hop healing. I've produced my own personal four albums, and it's really been about myself as a Black man navigating my mental health. And then finally, what I'll share with our family, is I'm also the author of a self-help book, I Believe Dreams, Be the Author of Your Own Legacy.
Nice.
Here. And it's it's for young people navigating their own journey and looking to pursue their own dreams and leave an impactful legacy, and something that I'm really passionate about. So
amazing intro. Thank you. I couldn't have wrote it better. Also in the comments, elemental notes. Yes, I am Blackalicious too. That's right. I am Blackalicious. Remember, thank you for reminding me. You always got my back. Good stuff. There's so many conversation pieces, and I don't want this to sound challenging in a bad way. Did mental health find you, or did you find mental health?
Interesting. Yeah, it definitely, I would think that it found me from birth, really. When I think about it from birth, you know, I'll start macro and then come micro. Like macro, just being birthed from some immigrants. Like my mom's from Guyana. My mom's from Guyana in Canada, and just in general, just being in so-called Canada, in a colonial state, being a Black person, off jump, there's something that's going to go on with our mental. But then when I bring it even closer, mental illness, especially on my mom's side, has been a real prevalent thing. One of the things that it's interesting, like in 2012, I went for my grandfather's memorial. And the only thing that I really knew much of my grandfather, because I didn't spend a lot of time with him, was about mental illness, that he was bipolar. All I knew that my whole life. And it wasn't until his memorial that I got to learn different things about him, about his character, about how he showed up in community, how he's a leader. But from him, other relatives, like mental illness has been something that has been prevalent in our family, and then as well as friends, myself, you know. So it's come to my door for sure. And
great. When was the decision made to be an activist in this area?
It's interesting. I'm a reluctant activist and a reluctant leader. That's not something that I've wanted to do. I deal with social anxiety, and I deal with my own issues. However, what's so important for me, especially when I was in my teens and going into early 20s, is seeing how much mental health and mental illness was affecting not only myself, but the friends around me. And it was through poetry and hip hop that we would have conversations, that we would build with each other and try to heal ourselves in a way. And then further down, once I did my degree in psychology, came back home, and I tell this story. I came back home, and I was waiting for my visa because I was going to go back to the States and work at a summer camp in Chicago. But then I'm sitting on the couch watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I get a phone call from one of my friends, and he's like, "Hey man, you want a job?" And it was like at a mental health treatment center for youth as a youth worker. So I ended up reluctantly, because I was going through a breakup at that time. I was depressed, whatnot. But I ended up getting the job, and it was through doing that work working with young people. The clinical director, he saw something in me. So we'd have these staff development things, right? And we'd be talking about what's going on in the house, what's going on with the kids. And I started reflecting on, hey, what was going on with the kids? Same dynamics is happening with us as staff, right? And he saw something in me, and he actually pushed me to do dialectical behavioral therapy training. So I did that training, and the funny full circle moment for me is I'm behind the glass. They have the observing glass, and I'm observing them doing the skills training, and it was at CAMH. So now look, 12 years later, I'm at CAMH, and what I would say is that I'm an activist, I'm an advocate, but it wasn't necessarily a decision that I really made. It's like, this has been my path. And from doing that, I ended up entering into doing these coping skills groups with young people with DBT. But what I found was they were really resistant to the clinical side of things. So what I did was like, all right, let's turn this into arts. Let's write short stories. Let's hear about Eminem, Billy Talent. Like, let's make it relevant to you. And it really engaged with them. And from there is when I said, you know what, there's something to arts and mental health. And I guess that's when I made a decision to be a quote unquote advocate or activist.
Well, look, thank you for being reluctant, because we love your reluctancy. One other thing before we go in further, some people may not know about CAMH, because I have a global audience. So can you just provide some lens on what CAMH is all about?
For sure. So CAMH stands for Center for Addictions and Mental Health. And it's a mental hospital here in Canada, as well as I'm a part of the Black Health Strategy, and we have SAPASI, which is like a program for Black youth, a mental health program for Black youth, which is at CAMH at the hospital, then as well as expand through different regions in the Greater Toronto area.
Thank you for the breakdown. Appreciate it. Let's go into a conversation piece here. What unique challenges do Black youth face in terms of mental health compared to other demographics?
For instance, some stats, right, is 23% of Black youth are introduced to the mental health system through police. That's 23%. That's unique. Another thing in 2022, both racial discrimination and racial microaggressions were predicted as higher rates in anxiety for Black people, right? So there's this dynamic that we're entering in when it comes to just race, right? Race has an impact as being a young Black person. A lot of the stigma and stereotypes that we face as young Black people, that's pretty unique. Of course, in other communities, especially in the other people of color, go through these things, but specifically for young Black youth, we have a lot of different perceptions that are put on us. And then as well as we're also dealing through intergenerational trauma, right? So those are some of the things that I would say uniquely position us in mental health.
I know it's been a few years since the pandemic, but what from you, and you have a great lens, so I would love to get your takes on this. What impact did mental health have on Black youth during and now still post-pandemic?
Well, there's various things when it comes to one, just the isolation, which everyone faced, but then also thinking about particularly in lower income communities and neighborhoods, also the proximity. We're so close together that a lot of the times we were the last folks that are getting the PPE, you know what I mean? The things that are actually can support us. So our very environments within the pandemic made it difficult, because then we're even more susceptible to what's going on. To even COVID-19 at that time. I think, as well as, we're a very communal people. And so when we're in isolation and we're not physically vibing and building with each other, that's also gonna be a challenge for us, And then also, what was another challenge is the George Floyd happened at around the same time as well, right? So we're also in an uprise, we're also protesting, we're also going through these things while we're trying to isolate, but we're still trying to fight for our rights and fight for our lives. So I think that those are some of the things that made it really challenging, and that we're affected by for young Black people.
Okay. You touched on it a little bit, but if you can a little bit go deeper, my next conversation piece is, how does systemic racism impact the mental health of Black youth, and what can be done to address this?
Mm-hmm. First, I'm trying to, where do I start with it? Because I think for me, it's the system in itself has been built on the backs of Black people, right? But then, as well as how it's designed, even, for instance, say schools, the folks that are majority that are going to the office or being expelled or are seen as the bad kids tend to be young Black people. So growing up in the system already within schools, you're feeling these pressures of being this young Black person, and you have this focal that everyone's surveillance. They're always paying attention to what you're doing, to the point where now you don't have much trust of the people that are in your life that are supposed to be taking care of and help you. So now when it goes to the healthcare system and mental health, it's oh, we're a little bit suspicious about people that are saying they're here for us, because these are the same people that are also setting up the policies that have marginalized us, So I think the system, even when we look at mental health, is a lot of times when we get a 211 call, when you get a call and you're in a crisis with mental health, the police will come, but oftentimes you'll be put in handcuffs, right? And you'll be taken either directly to the hospital, and you'll be taken, and then you feel like you're in this psych institution and you feel like you're in prison, and then I haven't even talked about prison when we look at literally my homies calling me from, we're at that event, right? We're at the event, the Black Physicians Association Ontario, and my homie's calling me from Ottawa in Carleton and is in the bin, right? And we're having a conversation. We just talked recently again, and we're talking about hey man, depression is real. And depression for myself looks like sometimes I can't get out of bed, I have bad appetite, whatnot, but also it can look differently. For my friend, for him, it was, you know what, I'm outside, I'm reckless, I don't really care about life, I'm just gonna live on the edge and that kind of thing, right? And those oftentimes, when he looks at even the other inmates that are there, he's like, yo, half these guys are depressed. So we're here in the prison system, but we're still dealing with our mental health. So I would say even further, and to come back to your point, is I think it's the perceptions that people have of young Black people, that we are criminalized, that we are a threat. That doesn't help with when we're trying to get care for our mental health. And then, of course, there's a lot of stigma within our own community as well. But I think, I think race and has a big deal had to do with it, because we have to navigate all these systems and perceptions of people, and then our own internalized racism.
Okay, you're great, because you segue nicely into my next conversation piece about what cultural factors influence how mental health within the Black community that hinder discussions about mental health.
yeah, enough, you know, you don't want to be looked at as you're a mod, you know, I don't want to be a mod man, you know, and oh, just pray about it, you know, you just need prayer. um there's these perceptions, right, that um there's something there's just something wrong with you, because we're all going through struggles, we're all having mental challenges, and we have to pull up our bootstraps and we got to keep on going, because life ain't fair, it ain't easy, we're Black, we know it's hard, you'll have to get through it. And that's tends to be the attitude, you know. And then it's like, oh, you're gonna go therapy, you're gonna talk about your business to someone else, don't put shame on our family. Like, these are certain ideas and attitudes that are within our community. And like, I think it's a challenge because also, you know, who can afford that? You can afford therapy. So I think those are some of the things, you know, like I'm sure there's more, but those are the first things that come to mind.
Yeah, and I want to go a little bit deeper on that, or maybe let's chat about it now. It's not cheap therapy. How can many young Black individuals who are marginalized systemically, sometimes by the culture, how can they even access it? And I'm sure, and what I've heard throughout is that the wait lists can be terribly long, and the situation is immediate.
Yeah, it's very challenging, you know. And for me, like, I've been blessed. I was blessed that when I really needed therapy at a time, um, that I think it was wellness, I happened to get $500 to go towards therapy. They were doing something. I think it was about like, let's get our reparations, you know, like, but they're like, here's $500, and you can find a therapist, and you can do therapy. So I think trying to find more programs and more things like that to help subsidize is where we need to be headed more further for young people. Like, I think it's fortunate for young people, like under 25, is that there's more access to free therapy, right? But if you're like an adult, a young adult, it's a lot more challenging, where, you know, you're spending 120, $140 for a session, and it ain't easy to do that. And not to mention, depending on who you're trying to look for a therapist, if you're looking for a therapist that looks like you, that you identify with, it's also a bit of a thing to find like a Black therapist if you're looking for that, you know. But I think there's trying to find more ways to get some subsidies, but then, as well as, I think what's helped and supported me is, along with therapy, is having peer support and having different groups that might support in the meantime. And then even for myself, at one point when I couldn't even afford therapy, I was calling lines, and getting a couple, I think I got 4 telecounseling sessions. So that's some of the things that I think we can do. But of course, it's not easy. And the prayer is that we can get some more fundings to subsidize therapy for young people, so it's more free for young adults.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to switch it up for a little and just say, tell us about the book. You held it up, didn't give you a chance to talk about it. So let's spend some time talking on the book. Give us the background.
Yeah, I Believe Dreams, a vision guide. It took me 7 years to write it. I came up with this acronym, IBLV, I believe, about 7 years ago. Imagine, believe, live, voice. And the idea is to imagine, believe, live, voice your dreams. Because I was always a dreamer, have great imagination, but like, how are we going to put that into practice? How are we actually going to get it done? So I was writing it for a while. Even when I went to Guyana for the first time, because my mom's from Guyana, I was there and I felt even more inspired. And I wrote like the introduction there. And it was in 2019, my business partner and best friend who passed away in 2019 at 26 years old, JV, I call him JV the GOAT. He was the founder of Spoken Heard. And we've done a lot of amazing things when it comes to youth work, when it comes to events, working with artists. And he's in the book. I talk about him in the book. But when that happened and he left such a legacy, and he was always about being urgent and about, I'm going to live this now. I'm going to make an impact now. I'm going to tell my story now. I'm going to have that uncomfortable conversation. I'm going to go to City Hall and I'm going to tell off the mayor now. And I was like, I need to leave my legacy. Like, I can't wait. Tomorrow is not promised. And I've been working on this book. Let's get in go mode. And 6 months, I just turned it up. I finished the rest of the book. And then December 20, it was my birthday that I put it out on my 30th birthday, because I was like, you know what, as I'm entering into adulthood, I don't know what's going to happen, but I just know I want to share what's my story from my youth. So that's the background around it.
So a few things. Condolences on the loss of your business partner. And I can tell just through the screen you're carrying on his legacy. So that's really important. Do you remember the moment you held the first finished copy in your hand? And
yeah, shout out to my uncle Steven, who hooked me up with the printers. And when I got it out the print, I was like, wow, this is real. Like, I'm not just a dreamer, I'm a doer. And when you look at the quality of the book, it's like, it's so good. There's moments where you can even write. I set it up for people to write so they can write in the book. My pictures are in there. And I remember just feeling like really proud of myself. And that's something that's really difficult for me, is to actually feel proud of myself. And I was like, yeah, we did it and we're doing it.
Just to add on, and congratulations, celebrating your win there. How has the completing of the book changed your life?
It's helped give me a different level of confidence, to the point where, like, when I lose sense of myself, when I lose perspective on myself, I can go back to this book and look through, and it's evidence, because I also, like, my story is in here as well. And I'm like, oh, wow, I did that. Oh, wow, this is something that's really valuable for folks, right? This is a very valuable, and to the point where 5 years later, someone's asking about my book. They're asking about my book. And I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is something that I have tangible that I can always have access to. And so it's changed my life in that sense. From here, I started a workshop series, I Believe Dreamers, which turned into a collective, I Believe Dreamers. And with I Believe Dreamers, we got over $75,000, maybe $80,000 to do peer coaching, do some workshops, but as well as we did like a live premiere, YouTube premiere of an online show during pandemic times. I had folks from Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, Toronto. We did a live show, put it out. We did 2 shows. Then we did also a conference. And this is all off of the book. I've done coaching with people. I've even done coaching with program managers at the Toronto Arts Council. So it's been impactful and changed my life in that way of having something tangible to give folks.
Again, because you're living it, can you share with our audience what is going in the life of young Black people? What's going on with them? What are their challenges? What are their dreams? What are their hurts that you're hearing? Because you're at ground level. You're at ground zero.
Yeah. Hey, we just trying to make this bread, man. That it's interesting, like working with some young people, doing a program, and then ask them to give us feedback, have some cards, and the amount of times that they're asking about money. and it's really telling, right? It's telling that the kind of society that we live in, where money it's a tool, right? It's not just about the money, but they want more. They want to experience life. They just want to live life more free, have fun, but then also support their family that may be struggling and going through things, you know. And another thing I would say is relationships is a huge thing with young people. They are always talking about some type of intimate, romantic kind of relationships, and he said, she said, they said this and that. But it makes a profound impact on their lives, you know, when they go through breakups and they go through challenges. Other thing that's really a thing is cyberbullying, and as well as the amount of youth that are getting in trouble for recording fights and recording inappropriate things, and are literally going to court for it. Like it's tough, right? So and then also at the same time, they're like, hey man, just trying to go to school. I want to, maybe they'll see a fight to be entertaining. They need to be entertained of going on. So it's challenging. But then as well as like they're tapped in, they're even talking about the Drake and Kendrick beef and like, oh no, we don't support that. Or, you know, so there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
What is the role at this present time, or should be the role of the Black family when it comes to Black youth and mental health from your lens?
Pivotal. I would say Black family, and family, I would say we can define as, you know, caregivers, supporters, chosen family, because like, especially in the Black community, there's so many different variations of family. I would say it's crucial and pivotal because it's community, it's people that are in your life that are going to show you some unconditional love, that it's going to remind you that you're of value and that people care about you and you should take care of yourself. And then also to build more relationships to the point where young people can tell you about what's going on. They're not going to tell you everything, and that's cool, but at least have some type of relationship where you can help to see, you can see when something's off. You can tell. But if you don't have a relationship with your young people, you can't necessarily tell if something's off, or if they need help, or, you know, maybe they need to talk to the uncle, their favorite uncle or favorite auntie or something like that. You know, it's not always going to be the parent, but just to be able to have community around, to be there when something's going on. But as well as, like, I think sometimes we go for too much of the crisis. Yeah, when crisis happens, you are there to direct them to support, but then as well as just be there to show love and enjoy and have memories, have the supports that you can optimize your mental health so you're not at a point of crisis, you know, because I think that's too late. Is like, how are we having an optimal mental health? And that comes from meaningful experiences with family.
Cool. What do you feel the role of schools and educational institutions in supporting the mental health needs of Black youth? What should their role be?
In the classroom, fostering a positive environment in the classroom, relationships with young people, but as well as guidance and social workers, youth workers that are in the school. I think they're in a place, because students are spending so much time with them, they're in a place where they can foster healthy relationships with them. And as well as when they see the signs of something might be going off, that they can connect with the supports to help them. So I think, yeah, they have an important role because they're spending so much time with them, and they have opportunity to build more relationship with them, and then as well as see how their relationships are with their peers. So they're in a great position to offer support, or even guide to support.
I had mentioned a few moments ago about, you know, the family. How critical is it for Black families to have a good working relationship with their schools in addressing Black youth mental health from your lens?
It's important and it's a challenge. I would say it's important and it's a challenge because also parents parents care so much, right? And at times it can come off with a bit of passion, you know, and sometimes teachers and administrators might not necessarily understand that. And also sometimes teachers and administrators aren't necessarily the most welcoming to Black families and Black parents as well. However, it's imperative, I think, to have that type of relationship with the schools so that there's an open communication and there's a building some rapport and some trust. Because without that, there's gaps that are missing, and then there's some things that are happening with your your child, and you have no idea. So yeah, I think it's important.
When having this conversation with you, there's two T's that come up: trauma and trust.
Mm-hmm.
You want to expand on that? Because I think before we go any further, Macmillan Group says, such an insightful conversation from a member of a generation who us boomers think is lost. Thanks for openly sharing your experiences and perspectives.
Yeah.
But the whole trauma and trust, because historically, many African people, we have a lack of trust of the system, whether it's health system, educational system, political system, and especially when it comes to the area of mental health, that trust and trauma resonate in my mind. Do you want to expand on any of that?
Sure. Trauma, and you know, trauma is a word that it seems to be a buzzword for the last decade or so, right? For sure. But trauma is this idea of an experience, something happening that's a blow, either to your psyche or physically, whatnot, and that it actually impacts you to the point where it can actually stunt you emotionally. It can stunt you mentally. It can have such an impact on you where now you see things differently, right? And within the Black community and from African descent, if we're coming from surviving enslavement, which is a very traumatic thing, then we're coming from being in so-called Canada, where we're facing these different microaggressions, or ourselves at being in schools and schools having a traumatic experience. Like, I remember I got sent to the principal's office in grade 1 for having a bald head because they thought I was trying to be a skinhead and try to lead a gang or something like that. I'm like, come on, yo, let's be honest. So these are little things that within the system we're having trauma, right? We have these experiences that impact us. And I think because of that, and because we know that these systems haven't been built for us and that they've really caused harm, that, yeah, there's a lack of trust there because, hey, this system wasn't built for us, you know? So yeah, so I think trust, and to build back trust is something where we are going to have to be more infiltrating the systems and shifting the systems so we can build more trust, you know, within them.
Okay, cool. How can we ensure that mental health services are accessible and culturally competent for Black youth?
Hey, you know what? I think first thing is wherever you have mental health services, you need to have, if possible, of course, is to have a Black youth advisory group. Like, you really need to hear from Black young people of what they need for their services in their community. I think that's the first step. Another thing that I'm just going to put a plug in for, that I think as we're building this hip hop healing movement that I really want to push, I think that is a way that's going to help with accessibility, is if we use the arts and we use music and we use culture as a way to raise awareness and as well as engage and bring in young people so that they can access services. So I think partnering with community and agencies, that's also an important thing right there, is to make that partnership between the two so that we can go from community and introduce to services and treatment and then still be a part of community.
There's a question here from the Macmillan Group. that we have here. And let me just, there we go. Yes. Is drug use a major impact on the mental health of you? He's asking your generation. And if yes, how can it be remedied?
Definitely. Definitely. I would say drugs, and this is everything from prescription drugs, right, to other things. And alcohol. I think it is the accessibility is rampant. There's so much access, as well as in our culture, drugs and alcohol is celebrated so often, you know, um, and it's a challenge because a lot oftentimes for young people, our brains aren't even fully developed till 25, and different substances can have an impact. And then as well as each person is different, right? Each person is different. So I like to take a harm reduction approach with it. I do think it can be, and also it's an indicator. Drug use is an indicator that it's a symptom of something else. Like that, it's showing how hurt we are in our generation, and that we're just trying to cope with life. We're self-medicating. We're trying to cope with life, trying to numb life. We're trying to escape because of the conditions of society and whatnot. The remedy, I think, is one, let's support the conditions of society and make it a bit better for young people to exist and not have to worry about their next meal or whatnot. But then as well as, I think, more engaging activities that are going to be fulfilling. We're trying to escape from a world that we're struggling with, but can we have more positive environments where we're having fun, whether that's in sports, whether that's in music, whether that's in different arts or different activities. And I think maybe there's not enough activities that we have for young people that are positive, that are fun, that are fly, that we can participate in. So we're not worried about drugs as much as like, if you're into what you're doing, you don't really have time for other things. Like it takes away from your full experience. So I think those are some of the potential remedies.
Well, it's interesting. In the province that we live here in Canada, Ontario, provinces in Canada are like states in the U.S. Is it, I think, by October this year, liquor and alcohol are going to be available in corner stores.
Yeah, and that's a challenge, right? That's a real challenge. Like I think it was, for instance, like even with marijuana, right? Now we have more dispensaries, it's more regulated, right? And regulation is important, especially when we're taking a harm reduction approach. But with alcohol, that regulation of LCBO, where it was really just the government putting it out, that was a helpful factor. But now when it's in convenience stores and whatnot, that lack of regulation now, and all these convenience stores in our community, it's gonna be so much easier to have access for a young person to get alcohol, whatnot, right? So I think that was a misstep, I personally think. But yeah.
Follow the money, my brother. Follow the money. Give us some comments here. Frequency Event Promotions says, I commend you for the work that you are doing. I remember and recall JV, who is still a blessing to the community and us. Mr. Henry, please keep up the great work. We will be contacting you very soon versus later. Next comment, Frequency Event Promotions has, the work you are doing is very important and need of abundance of funding. We have heard of these SAP ACCY program. Glad to know that it still exists. Okay. All right. Keep it going. Keep it flowing. Another conversation piece, because we're coming up on time, because I know you're in demand and you got to run. Are there community-based initiatives or support networks that can cater specifically to the mental health needs of Black youth?
Well, I'll be remiss, especially after this comment of SAPASI program. SAPASI, it's out of CAMH, but now has gotten some funding to be at different satellite locations. So, for instance, the Rexdale Health Community Center, that is now as a part of SAPASI, and they offer mental health and substance use services for Black youth. Taibu is another community-based agency in Scarborough. They as well offer, as well as CAFCAN as well. roots. I now I feel like I have to share all of them, but like but there are a lot of organizations that are doing the work, and what we're trying to get into a place where we can kind of not be as siloed and we can kind of support each other a little more. But there are services that are out there for Black youth. It's just more about these services being supported and build their capacity, because that's the challenge, is that, yeah, the services are there. However, they're overworked and understaffed.
Okay. Frequency Event Promotion says, Dr. Vibe, the more absorbed, the less is understood. Alcohol and convenience stores. How convenient. There you go. There you go. Let's also, we got here, how can we, us here, empower Black youth to advocate for their own mental health needs and seek support when necessary?
Let them know that everyone goes through mental challenges at some point in their life. They are not alone in that, and that when they share their voice, they are the ones that are in charge, right? It's like, it's your choice. So if you choose to, you can. If you don't, that's fine. Find someone who you can tell that can support you in advocating for you. If not, hey man, put it in a verse, put it in a tweet or an X, put it on Instagram. Find whatever way is going to help you to share your voice to the people that you feel that are going to hear, and go for it. You got it.
Yeah, I got some more of the the Morning Vibe Show family, sorry, kicking in here. Perry Douglas says, everything you are saying is 100%. However, we just have to be self-aware that life comes down to the decisions we make, and have to be conscious about falling into the victimhood trap or culture.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Henry, Frequency Event Promo, says, do you have your own NFP, or is your business structure for profit?
Yeah. So my personal business is structured for profit.
Okay. Fantastic.
And yeah, I hear that point to not following the trap of victimhood and culture. And I think it's an important balance to be empowering ourselves and really believe in ourselves, and then as well as acknowledge also the circumstances that we're coming from. So it's definitely a balance.
So as we start winding down with you on this part of the conversation today, what strategies can be implemented to promote resilience and positive mental health outcomes among Black youth, despite the challenges they may face?
Yeah, I think this idea of mindfulness, not necessarily like, ooh, meditating, that type of thing, but finding ways where they can be mindful, they can put their full attention in the present moment to feel a sense of peace. I think engaging activities that are going to be stimulating and activities that are going to be supportive for clearing your mind, whether that's journaling, whether that's going for a walk. And I think it's building a community where you feel you can be a bit braver and actually share your story, because it's in community and in communication that is where a lot of help can happen. And even just saying something and expressing where you're at can add and give you some relief.
What's up next for you, young man? You're always on the go. What's up next?
Yeah, I got an EP dropping in the summertime. I just put out a song called Mad Men, and started the series Deciphered. So I'm breaking down lyrics because I really mad men in this hip hop healing. I want to have more conversations. So look out for some more hip hop healing.
Good. I'm glad you mentioned it. What is your lens in regards to the impact that hip hop is having on Black youth and mental health?
Yeah, I think it's having a huge impact for positive and negative. Like, I think these things are, it's really how you approach it and what you take in, because hip hop is like, it's not good or bad in itself, but it's how you're leveraging it, how you're using it. I think for the culture, it's interesting that Drake and Kendrick beef to me is a real good representation of some of the impacts that it can have on young people, whether it's promoting more of a consumerism capitalist stance or it's promoting more of a conscious cultural stance. So I think those are the way that it's impacting us with literally our culture, how we behave, what we believe in, what our values are. Hip hop helps to influence that.
Anything else you want to share with us, my man? Because we're right on the border. You told me you had a deadline.
This has been amazing. Thank you to you, Dr. Vibe, but also to the Morning Vibe Show family. Much love. Appreciate the support. And you can check me out at jermainehenry.ca, change agency. Thank you so much. This has been fun. I appreciate the practice and conversation.
Well, thank you so much for taking the most important thing you have, your time to spend with us today. And as I said before we went live, you have a home here. So anything you want to share, you have a safe and brave place to do it right here. And as always, as I say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. Peace, my brother. You keep the faith.
Give thanks. One love.
All right, family. Great conversation with Jermaine. Hey, anyone have any comments they'd like to add about that conversation? Black youth and mental health. Any suggestions, any feedback, any comments? I know there's a number of people watching live here. And again, if you're watching on the replay, would love to get your takes here. It is a big challenge in the Black environment or African environment, this whole area of mental health. And the challenge is too, they have a chance to get into it with Jermaine, but there are not a lot of culturally sensitive resources. There are a number out there, but not enough to match the need that's out there. So that is really important. Any comments, feedback before we call it a morning? Yeah, Ryan, I didn't have a chance. Ryan is not with us this morning. He said he couldn't make it, but he'll be back with us on Monday. We have a very interesting conversation about disabilities and being an African individual and having disabilities and how to cope, especially when dealing with reimbursement. Opal Inspired says, very important information. Thank you so much, Opal Inspired. So what is up for everybody's weekend? Myself, I'm doing, I think a sharing session tomorrow morning, but after that, I'm somewhat relaxing. Hopefully the weather's going to continue and be nice. So have a nice, relaxing weekend. Any other comments that anyone would like to share in regards to Black youth mental health or anything? I'll give you a moment or two. If not, we will shut it down. Frequency Event Promotion says, I think Jermaine does spoken word. He does. I would have loved to heard his art. You should have asked. You should have asked. All right. JJ Mars, good show. Thank you, JJ Mars. Frequency Event Promotions, once again, another great show. Opal Inspired has this. I think parents should make it important to talk about their kids, about their feelings. Very, very true. Fitness IQ Cam says, enjoy your weekend. Fitness IQ Cam, it was an amazing convo. Must realize Fitness IQ Cam, she wants to run this show, by the way. So you watch out what she's going for. I know there's going to be a comment now. I know there's going to be something in the comments. I know that. But yeah, there's a whole other conversation about how Black parents should handle mental health challenges with their young people. And also there are some Black African parents who have mental health challenges also. So that's a whole thing. So this is a whole big lens in regards to mental health in the African community. All right. I think that's it for today. So let's do some closing things. As always, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, please follow Dr. Vibe on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. To advertise your business product or service on any of the platforms that I appear on a regular basis, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe@thedr.com. Also, join the Morning Vibe Discord group where we continue the conversations in between conversations. As always, you can watch replays of our conversations at Indie Soup Media TV, indiesoupmedia.tv. A lot of my conversations are on there. And you can get a hold of Mr. Ryan Knight, RyanOneilKnight.com, website address. Yeah, LinkedIn, Ryan Oneil Knight. Instagram, Ryan.Knight99. And email, work with me, RyanOneilKnight.com. Myself, here are all the places you can touch base with me. As I say, my touch points, my digital touch points. The DR, VIBESHOW.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the space, DR period space, VIBE space, SHOW, Instagram at the DR, VIBESHOW, X/Twitter at DR, VIBESHOW, and email address, as I said earlier, DR period VIBE at the DR, VIBESHOW.com. You can watch replays of this epic conversation at the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook, Afro Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan Oneil Knight YouTube and LinkedIn. That's a wrap. Hope if you're watching this live, depending where you are in the world, hope you enjoy your weekend. Wherever you're watching this, enjoy the best you can. We'll be back live on Monday, tomorrow night, if you're around, which will be June 1st, the 1st of June, live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, prime time Saturday with Aisha and Lala. And I wonder what we're going to be talking about. First subject, I wonder, ex-president convicted. They've already told me they're ready to go and chatting about that. So that's what one of the many epic conversations we'll be having on that platform. And on Sunday, Black Canada Talking. So we're going to close out with this. Live your life. Oh, someone has a comment. Oh, Fitness IQ Cam goes, woo! Yes, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot. All right. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage. Oh, remember to give yourself, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. That is it. That is all. We'll see you on the digital highway. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith and walk good.